Hello, I'm Michael Barrett. I'm the Conservative candidate for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes. Thank you for coming this morning. I have the honor of hosting Pierre Poilievre today for our Canada First announcement. After the lost Liberal decade, wages are down, but the cost of housing, groceries, and everything else is up. Canadians now spend more on taxes than they do on clothing, rent, and food. If you're a nurse, a carpenter, or a retired senior on a fixed income, the Canadian promise seems like a distant memory. Under the Liberals, we've had the worst housing inflation in the G7, while regular inflation means that families will spend over $800 more on food this year than they did in 2024. But for well-connected Liberal insiders, life has never been so good. It's a tale of two Canadas. Over the last 5 years, everyday Canadians have suffered from Liberal inflation. But believe it or not, some Liberal insiders secretly love inflation. Why? Because if you own a lot of assets, inflation causes their value to soar. Remember, it was Mark Carney who advised Trudeau to open up the spending taps, making everything more expensive for Canadians. Why would he do that? Well, here's a clue. In 2022, while most Canadians were watching the value of their paychecks collapse under an avalanche of inflation, Brookfield CEO wrote to his shareholders to gloat about how much money they were making off of inflation. Brookfield CEO said, and I quote, "Many of our infrastructure, renewables, and real estate assets are positioned to benefit from inflation," end quote. And in 2023, he wrote to shareholders again to say that, quote, "The stress in the market is our sweet spot," end quote. Your pain was his gain. As Trudeau's economic advisor, Carney was supposed to be working for Canadians. But his advice to Trudeau made you poorer while he lined his own pockets and the pockets of his rich friends. At the same time, he advised Trudeau to raise taxes on Canadians, taxes that he knew he wouldn't have to pay after he stashed his company's funds in exotic Caribbean tax havens. This is not the first time that Mark Carney has been accused of conflicts of interest. In the UK, when he was acting as an advisor to the Labour government, he lobbied a Labour minister for government subsidies for heat pumps that would enrich a heat pump company owned by Brookfield. The chairman of the company even admitted that, quote, "Mark is working on our behalf in government," end quote. Meanwhile, here in Canada, Carney's conflicts touch everything from nuclear energy to real estate to tax policy to his dealings with the Chinese government and shadowy Bermuda tax havens. Incredibly, we still don't know whether or not Mark Carney actually pays taxes in Canada. And now, as Prime Minister, the current conflict of interest rules don't even require him to sell his assets in Brookfield. Now, he's gotten away with just moving his assets into a so-called blind trust. But the only people who are left blind are Canadian voters. We can't see what assets are in the trust, but Mark Carney knows because he put them there. Now, Mark Carney doesn't want to talk about any of that. That's why as soon as the media started asking him tough questions about it, he suspended his campaign and rushed back to Ottawa. He's been hiding from the public for 3 straight days now. He's hiding from scrutiny over the fact that he's already the most conflicted and compromised Prime Minister in Canadian history. From revelations about his cozy relationship with the Chinese government, cash stashed in offshore tax havens, and his history of lobbying governments he's supposed to be advising to benefit his employers and his own financial interests. This is the Prime Minister who leads a Liberal Party that's made up of ministers and caucus members who are responsible for the series of ethical scandals that have tarnished Canadians' confidence in our democratic institutions, like the $60 million Arrive scam, the billion-dollar Green Slush Fund, the Canada Student Service Grant, where they tried to give $1 billion to Liberal insiders at the We organization. Mark Carney doesn't want you to think about any of that. That 87% of the cabinet that he appointed were the same cabinet ministers that advised Justin Trudeau. He's running on one election promise only, that he can deal with Trump. So how's that going? 2 weeks ago, he said that he made progress with Trump. Last week, he said that, quote, he can handle Trump, end quote. That's an actual quote from him. But there's no evidence whatsoever that Mark Carney can control or influence anything that Donald Trump does. The fact is that while the rest of the world is getting pauses on Trump's tariffs, there are more tariffs on Canada today than when Mark Carney became Prime Minister. Now, that's Mark Carney's actual record of dealing with Trump. He can't hide from that record any more than he can hide from his own conflicts and Liberal record of broken promises. After the lost Liberal decade, with costs and crime up, and our economy down and under America's thumb, and with Liberal insiders profiting off their government's decision, it's clear that the Liberals don't deserve a fourth term. It's time to put Canada first for a change, with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, will build homes, unleash resources, stop crime, and bring home jobs, to stand up to Trump from a position of strength. Pierre Poilievre is the only one who can bring that change to Canada.